For over 2.5 centuries, the Qing dynasty ruled China, expanding its territory to historic heights and presiding over a flourishing civilization. Yet beneath this grandeur, deep cracks were forming. Bureaucratic corruption, social unrest, and an inability to modernize left the empire vulnerable. Foreign powers exploited these weaknesses, forcing China into humiliating treaties, wars, and territorial concessions. By the early 20th century, centuries of imperial authority crumbled, culminating in revolution. This is the story of the Qing dynasty's fall and China's Century of Humiliation, a period that reshaped the nation and sowed the seeds of modern Chinese nationalism. At its height in the 18th century, the Qing dynasty represented the pinnacle of imperial China. Under emperors like Kangxi, Yongzheng, and Qianlong, the dynasty expanded its borders to include Tibet, Xinjiang, Mongolia, and Taiwan, creating one of the largest empires in history. The period was marked by economic prosperity, population growth, and a flourishing of arts, literature, and Confucian scholarship. Cities thrived, trade expanded, and the dynasty projected a sense of stability and cultural authority across East Asia. Yet beneath this grandeur, the seeds of decline were already taking root. The Qing bureaucracy became increasingly corrupt, with officials often prioritizing personal gain over effective governance. The rigid social hierarchy stifled innovation and marginalized large segments of the population. Meanwhile, the dynasty's military stagnated, relying on traditional methods that lagged behind Western advances. These internal weaknesses created a fragile state, unable to adapt to the challenges of the 19th century. While the empire still projected power abroad, its foundations were eroding at home, leaving China vulnerable to both internal revolts and the mounting pressure of foreign encroachment. By the early 19th century, China's long-standing trade surplus with Europe became a source of tension. Western nations, particularly Britain, were eager to access Chinese tea, silk, and porcelain, but China strictly controlled foreign trade through the Canton system. To address the trade imbalance, British merchants began exporting opium from India into China, creating widespread addiction and social disruption. The Qing government attempted to suppress the opium trade, appointing officials like Lin Zexu to confiscate and destroy opium stocks, but these measures provoked a military response from Britain. The resulting First Opium War, 1839 to 1842, ended in a humiliating defeat for China. The Treaty of Nanjing forced the Qing to cede Hong Kong, open multiple ports to foreign trade, grant extraterritorial privileges to British citizens, and pay reparations. This marked the beginning of the era known as unequal treaties, where Western powers imposed their will on a sovereign China. A few years later, the Second Opium War, 1856 to 1860, further eroded Qing sovereignty. Foreign troops captured Beijing, looted the summer palaces, and imposed additional treaties that expanded foreign influence. These wars shattered the myth of China's invincibility, exposed the dynasty's military weaknesses, and set the stage for decades of foreign domination, contributing to the long and painful Century of Humiliation. While foreign powers pressured China from the outside, internal unrest weakened the Qing dynasty from within. Widespread poverty, population pressures, and government corruption fueled discontent across the empire. The most devastating of these uprisings was the Taiping Rebellion, 1850 to 1864, led by Hong Xiuquan, a charismatic leader who claimed to be the younger brother of Jesus Christ. Promising social reforms, land redistribution, and an end to Qing rule, the movement attracted millions of followers, particularly among disenfranchised peasants. The rebellion engulfed southern China, capturing major cities and establishing the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. The Qing military struggled to suppress the uprising, relying heavily on regional armies and foreign mercenaries. The conflict caused unprecedented human suffering. Historians estimate 20 to 30 million deaths, making it one of the deadliest civil wars in history. Cities were destroyed, farmland ruined, and the imperial treasury drained. Other uprisings, including the Nian Rebellion and various Muslim revolts, compounded the dynasty's problems. By the mid-19th century, the Qing dynasty faced a dual crisis: foreign encroachment undermining sovereignty and devastating internal revolts eroding its legitimacy. By the late 19th century, the Qing dynasty was grappling with both internal instability and relentless foreign encroachment. Attempts at modernization came too little, too late. The self-strengthening movement, 1861 to 1895, sought to reform China's military, industry, and infrastructure by adopting Western technology while preserving traditional Confucian values. Shipyards, arsenals, and modern schools were established, and limited railways were constructed. However, the reforms were fragmented, poorly funded, and resisted by conservative factions within the court. As a result, China's modernization lagged far behind Western powers and Japan. Foreign pressure continued to escalate. In the Sino-Japanese War, 1894 to 1895, China suffered a humiliating defeat, losing Taiwan and Korea and exposing the Qing military's weakness. This defeat encouraged European powers to carve out spheres of influence, forcing the Qing government to grant privileges to Britain, France, Germany, and Russia, including control over ports, trade, and mining concessions. In 1899, the Boxer Rebellion erupted, a violent, anti-foreign, and anti-Christian uprising fueled by nationalist and xenophobic sentiment. The movement initially succeeded in besieging foreign legations in Beijing but was swiftly crushed by an international coalition of 8 nations. China was forced to pay enormous indemnities and accept even greater foreign oversight, further eroding Qing authority. The Qing dynasty, weakened by internal rebellions, foreign defeats, and failed reforms, faced growing revolutionary movements by the early 20th century. Intellectuals, reformers, and secret societies, inspired by ideas of nationalism and republicanism, began advocating for the overthrow of imperial rule. Among them, Sun Yat-sen emerged as a leading figure, promoting the 3 principles of the people: nationalism, democracy, and livelihood. His ideas resonated with students, merchants, and military officers frustrated with the Qing's inability to modernize or defend China. The spark for the final collapse came with the Wucheng Uprising on October 10, 1911, when revolutionary forces in Hubei province successfully seized control of the city. The rebellion quickly spread to other provinces, with local armies and civilians joining the revolt. The Qing court, already weakened and facing internal division, struggled to mount an effective response. Negotiations with provincial leaders and military commanders revealed that the dynasty no longer commanded loyalty across China. By early 1912, the abdication of the last emperor, Puyi, officially ended over 2,000 years of imperial rule. The Qing's fall ushered in the Republic of China, but the country remained politically fragmented, with regional warlords vying for power. The dynasty's collapse marked the end of centuries of traditional governance and the beginning of a turbulent century, characterized by foreign intervention, civil war, and the struggle to modernize. The fall of the Qing dynasty was both the conclusion of an imperial era and the opening chapter of modern Chinese history, forever shaped by the lessons of the Century of Humiliation. The fall of the Qing dynasty marked the end of over 2 millennia of imperial rule in China and the beginning of a turbulent era known as the Century of Humiliation. A combination of internal corruption, social unrest, failed reforms, and relentless foreign pressure left the dynasty unable to defend its sovereignty. Yet these struggles also fueled revolutionary ideas, nationalism, and the drive toward modernization. Understanding this period helps explain China's political and cultural trajectory in the 20th century. If you found this story compelling, like, subscribe, and comment on which historical turning point you want us to explore next.